This is the question asked in today's skillrack daily challenge. So in the first line of our input, we are given the value of integer n, and after that we are given a n cross n integer matrix as input. So first our task is to divide the given n cross n integer matrix into 4 equal submatrices. So here the value of n is equal to 4. So we can divide this n cross n submatrices into 4 2 cross 2 submatrices. So these are all the 4 different 2 cross 2 submatrices. So the red is the first submatrix and the green is the second submatrix, and similarly all the submatrices are highlighted in a separate color. And now our task is to print 9 integers in our output. So the first integer out of the 9 integers must be the sum of all the integers in the first submatrix. So the sum of all the integers in the first submatrix is 10, 20, 40 and 30. So we have to add all these integers. So 40 plus 30 is 70, and then 70 plus 20 plus 10 is 100. So the sum of all the integers in the first submatrix is 100. So the first integer in our output is 100. So that is how we get it. And now for the second submatrix, we have to split the submatrix into 2 equal halves horizontally. So we have to split the submatrix horizontally. So the first submatrix in the second submatrix would be 55, 65, and the second submatrix in the second submatrix would be 92, 82. So first let us print the sum of first half of the second submatrix. So 55 and 65, the sum is 120, and then the sum of second half in the second submatrix is 92 plus 82, so it is 174. So this is how we will be printing the next 2 integers out of 9 integers. So totally we have printed 3 integers. So the next 2 integers must be printed using the third submatrix. The third submatrix must be splitted vertically into 2 equal halves. So the 11 and 21 will be the first half, and the 23 and 43 will be the second half. So 11 plus 21 is 32, and then 23 plus 43 is 66. So 23 plus 43 is 66. So this is how we will be splitting the third submatrix into 2 equal halves by splitting the matrix vertically. So totally out of 9 integers, till now we have printed 5 integers, and the remaining 4 integers would be, we have to split the fourth submatrix into 4 equal halves, and the sum of 4 equal halves must be printed as our output. So here there are only totally 4 integers in the fourth submatrix. So in this case, each integer 34, 24, 74 will all be considered as a submatrix. So first we will be printing 34 and 24, and then we will be printing 74 and 94. So these will be the remaining integers. So the fourth submatrix must be split into 4 equal halves. Now let us see the logic. So first I am creating a matrix named mat of size 101 and 101 outside the main function. So the reason is we can use this matrix from any part of our program. So we can use it from function, and also we can use it in our main program. So now let us see our main function. So first we have to accept the value of n, and then we have to accept the n cross n integer matrix as input. And after accepting the input, first we have to divide the submatrix into 4 equal submatrix. So I am creating a variable named d, and I am assigning the value of n by 2 to it. So we will be using this in our loops. And then I am creating another variable named submat, and I am setting it to 0. So we will be using this to find the current submatrix. So totally there will be 4 submatrix, and initially I am setting it to 0. So now we have to iterate through all the 4 equal submatrices. So to do that, we have to create a nested loop like this. So the first I loop will be iterating from 0 till n minus d, and in every iteration I will be incremented for d times. Similarly the j loop, it will be iterating from 0 to n minus d, and in every iteration we will be incrementing j by d times. So we will be iterating through the 4 equal submatrices. So in every iteration of this nested loop, first I am incrementing the value of the variable submatrix. So I am incrementing submatrix plus plus. So if the submatrix is equal to 1, then it means that we are at the first submatrix. And then if submatrix is equal to 2, then we have to apply our logic for the second submatrix. Similarly, for the third and fourth submatrix, we are given separate logic. So we have to apply those logics within these if conditions. So we will be checking whether submatrix is equal to 3, and then if submatrix is equal to 4, then we have to split the integers as per the condition and print the sum of integers in the given range. So for the first submatrix, we were given to add all the integers in the first submatrix. So for the submatrix, the 10 is the starting integer and the 30 is the ending integer. So totally there are 4 integers in the first submatrix, and the value of ij will be the first integer in the submatrix. So initially ij will be pointing to 10, and if we know the starting index and the size of submatrix, then we can easily determine the index of the integer 30. So we are creating a function to calculate the sum in the range, and within the arguments we will be passing the starting row and then ending row, starting column and ending column. So we will be passing all these values in the arguments, and we will be calculating the sum of integers in this range. So for the first submatrix, we have to calculate all the integers sum. So I am passing the starting row and ending row, and then starting column and ending column. So this function sum and range will calculate the sum of all the integers in that range and print it as our output. And similarly, for the second submatrix, we were given to split the submatrix into 2 equal halves horizontally. First printf statement, we will be printing for the first half of the second submatrix, and in the second printf statement, we will be printing the second half sum of the second submatrix. So this is how we will be printing the integers using this function sum and range. Similarly, we have to apply the logic for the third submatrix and fourth submatrix. So now let us see how this function sum and range works. So this function sum and range accepts 4 integers in its arguments named start row and then end row and then start call and end call. So if you know all these 4 values, then we can iterate through all the integers present in this range. So we have to calculate the sum. So I am creating a variable named sum and I am setting it to 0, and I am creating a nested loop that so the first loop iterates from the starting row to ending row, and the second loop iterates from starting column to ending column. And in every iteration of this nested loop, we have to add the variable sum with the integer of the matrix at the index ij. So after the execution of the nested loop, we have to return the value of sum. So this is how we will be calculating the sum of integers in the given range. So we have to split our third submatrix into 2 halves by splitting the matrix vertically, and for the fourth submatrix, we have to split the fourth submatrix into 4 equal halves. So this is how we should print our output, and this is the logic. Thank you for watching.